Welcome back, everyone, to the CHG podcast.
What's
It's
up?
been a couple weeks. Sorry
It
about
has
that.
been.
David has school and it never ends. So
Yeah, I'm busy.
yeah,
It's only gonna get
he's a
busier.
busy boy. It's just how it goes. But maybe one day we'll see the end of the rainbow. Anyway, so we're gonna get going right away. What we're playing. So this actually won't be very long on my part for once. It's just two things. I finished Liza P completely. I got the platinum for it on PS5. I will get a copy on the PS4 to platinum it as well. Because for a Soulsborne game and an open world-ish game is not that long, which I love. I'm loving this now. I know we talked about games
Yeah.
being too bloated and everything. This was the perfect length. Now, for a blind playthrough, it probably would take anywhere from 20 to 40 if you're not getting
Which is a
stuck.
good length.
If you're not getting stuck,
Yeah.
if you're not letting your gamer pride get the best of you and you don't use like a specter or some other things that around you to help you out with the game, for an average Souls player, Soulsborne player, it'll probably take between 20 and 40 for a blind playthrough. Now, I had already played it on stream, so when I finally played it on my main account, I was running through shit because I already
Yeah.
knew what I wanted to do. So I was blasting through the campaign. And I think I got my first playthrough done in under 20 hours. And then I did a new game plus. You have to do a new game plus to get, because there's some things that are locked. You can't, like, so for instance, you get a reward from a quest, an NPC quest, but you can only get one, and she gives you two, depending on how you go about the quest line, on your final answer to her. But you can't go back and get both, and won't save if you try to save scum or whatever. So like you have to do two playthroughs to get her other reward, and there's actually some records that are only available in New Game Plus. So you gotta play up to like pretty much the end of the game to get all of the remaining records, because they keep one that you can't get until after you beat the second to last boss of the game. So there is that. Now technically you don't have to do the final boss if you were to save scum on the first playthrough, but I was like, I already have to get basically to the end, might as well. And so yeah, but yeah, it was great. And when they put the recent update, which actually gave you a few more quartz, which are items you need to upgrade your P organ, which give you those buffs, like those permanent like abilities or buffs and stuff like that. So with those extras that I think I got like 3 extra in the game, and I was following a guide, so I wasn't missing any of them. You normally get 28, I believe, in a playthrough, but now you get an extra 3 or 4, so that really helps. And so I was already like, by the time that first playthrough was done, I was up to like I was almost done with phase 3 of the P organ. No, I think it was in phase 4. I was in phase 4, and I had so many buffs, and I decided to finally. I watched this video of a weapon build thing, and he took the electro coil handle, but put this electric circular saw, as the blade, and because they're both electrical weapons, and I used the saw, but I used the full saw. I didn't like it because it was too slow. But with the handle, it has the handle speed, but it gives you the circular saw's like attack hits, and and you get both of their fable arts, which are dope because I like electric coil's fable art, but now I get it on the saw, which is stronger. And so on my second playthrough, I put that on, and I was like, oh my gosh, what have I done? Like I should have been using this from the get go. Like I can't believe, because I didn't play around with the assembling at all. I didn't fuck around with any of it, and so I was like, my gosh,
Which is that's like the main mechanic
it
of
is
the
like it's
game.
such a big thing. But because it can get so confusing and in depth, I didn't want to deal with it. And so, but yeah, like that was and then I used that my whole second playthrough. Circular saw, electric coil handle, ran me the whole game, so good. And then I started messing around more with the grindstones, because there's one that'll increase your I think stagger damage or whatever, which is what I play. Like I'm just going for electric for stagger damage the whole time, because the electric weapons give electric blitz, which increases stagger damage on enemies. And I was like, oh, so that's how I basically played every boss, was trying to just hit that as soon as I could, get that electric blitz, keep using those charged attacks to do more to stagger damage, and then just go ham. Like, so yeah, the second playthrough was actually easier than the first, personally. And yeah, it was a great time. I I am done with it. There is, on the third playthrough, the only thing that's really available is you unlock phase 7 of the P organ, but I didn't see anything else that opened up, and it's the same game. like even enemies and attacks aren't changed or remixed like in Neo, for instance, like
Mm,
Neo 1 and 2. When you get to like I think the third difficulty, even regular enemies will have additional attacks. Or and like they'll change their special like their unblockable attacks, those will change and get moved
mm,
to other moves or entirely different moves. Even the bosses are changed a bit. And so and I mean Neo is his own thing, so it's like understandable. But you know, it does kind of suck. It does make it harder for me to want to play again when I know there's nothing different. It's just gonna be me swiping through the game yet again, just getting quartz to get to the seventh P orc and just to fill that up for the sake of it.
mm,
Now, when they inevitably unleash, put out a campaign DLC, because I'm pretty sure they're going to some kind of an expansion that will get me back in immediately, and I cannot wait. Because yeah, a fantastic game. Saw all three endings. The bad ending is really bad and really creepy. You're not going to play the game, so spoilers right now. I'm letting you know this is a rare spoiler warning from me about Liza P. If you don't want to hear about the bad ending, so in the bad ending, you give your heart to Geppetto at the end of the game to be a real boy. I'm a real boy, right?
mhm,
And you're basically the same. You look the same. Nothing's changed about you. But for some weird reason, everyone gets killed in the hotel. Like you kill everyone in the hotel. I don't
mm,
understand why. I don't know why he wanted everyone to die just because you're a real boy now. Maybe there's some low, maybe something I missed and I'm not reading or understanding, but yeah, like there's a cutscene in it where like you come out of the hotel, you guys are about to go leave, but then the hotel doors open and it pans backwards and everyone's dead. Everyone's been like slaughtered, and I'm just like, yo, what? But the creepy thing was that so in any playthrough that you any ending that you do, you don't have to necessarily start a new game right away. You can back out and take care of a few, you can take care of some other NPC dialogues. There's actually a couple of letters you can get in the hotel before you start the new game, or you can just, of course, I guess, just continue going redoing the levels without the bosses and just fighting. I don't know why you would, but or maybe you thought you missed something, you can always go back and grab it.
mhm,
Um, so all that's open to you. But in this bad ending, when you go back to the hotel, everyone's a puppet now, and it is creepy as fuck. Like I didn't know because I first talked to the Paul and Dina. He's already a puppet, so nothing was weird with him. He sounded a bit off, but like I was like, I didn't pay attention to it. Then I went over to the dude, to Vanini, and he was a puppet, and I was like, what the heck? And then his butler guy, he's a puppet too already, but he's changed completely. His whole aesthetic is like different, and I'm like, what the heck? And then the chick who does your weapons, she's a puppet. And also was weird, none of them had their names when you talk to them. They're all gone. Like they had names, now there's no names. No one has a name. Even the previous puppets don't have names. And I'm like,
hmm,
what the heck? And they all call you Carlo because that's actually who you find out is like the like I guess you could say the spirit with like that was actually Geppetto's son was Carlo.
mm, mm,
It's a whole thing I'm not gonna get into, but basically you're now Carlo, and they call you Carlo. But like it, I was just kind of thrown off. It was super creepy, and I hope that's not the canon ending they're going with. I hope the best ending is the canon ending because that one was actually really freaking cool, um, and I like that one the most. But
mhm,
yeah. But other than that, playing Gran Turismo Sport. I know I told you a long time ago I was trying to go with platinum for it. It was very difficult and hard because of online stuff and the grind. I am almost done. Um, I shouldn't say almost. I say almost because I only have 4 trophies, but the grind for the level 50 trophy is it cannot be understated how much of a grind this is. I'm on level 44. When I got to level 44, I needed or I need 150,000 experience to get to level 45. I need to get to level 50 by the end of this. And it's only going to increase more that I need in between the levels. Now, there is this optimum race that people have identified. This is the best that the game offers as far as like efficiency, like experience to time efficiency. If you get a clean race, you can get 8,250 experience per race, and it takes about 12 minutes, a little over 12 minutes to finish the race. Now, I can fairly consistently get a clean race, but even if you don't get a clean race, you'll get about 5,550 experience. But even if you optimize, even if you were able to get a clean race on every single race, I would have had to do this race 18 times just to get level 45. And I'm gonna have to do it more in between each of these new levels. Like, it is stupid. And the worst part is, as far as I can understand or see, there is literally no incentive to do this besides that trophy. It's like as if they're punishing people like myself to get this trophy for no reason. Like what gain do you get to punish me for doing this? Like, I don't understand it. And I don't know if the grind is as bad. Actually, I don't think there even is a level 50 trophy in GT7, but it's just like, it is stupid. That's the only real trophy that I have to get. The other three are just taking some pictures, and that's it. And it can take me like literally a minute to do those last three
Yeah.
trophies. And but it's just this one level 50 trophy. Like, by the time we talk again, maybe I'll have it. Probably won't though, because like, I mean, I can get to level, like, by the time I have to start work on Monday, I'll probably be level 46 if I really know life it.
Hmm.
But like, now that I'll be, we working again on Monday, I'm only gonna have a few hours every night, and I won't have. It's gonna take more than 4 hours to get between levels at that point. It
Yeah.
really will, and so it's like, fucking hell, man! Like, it's really they make it a job. It's like literally a job to get this. Like, and it is stupid. Like, I'm gonna get it before the servers are down, of course. But but it's just, oh my
You
gosh.
chose this life, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I mean, like, I'm not. I'm just complaining because it is ridiculous. But I'm not complaining. I'm not going to continue, complaining about it because I knew this is what I signed up for, and I read that it was a grind. I knew, but like, now that you're living it,
Yeah.
it's another story. But so that's gonna be my life, for like the next couple of weeks just to get this done. I'm gonna try to play. I'm gonna play a couple games here and there just to break the monotony and make sure I don't, lose my mind. I booted up this weird semi kind of Souls like game, but it's super jank and it's not good. But I wanted to know how not good it was, so I'm playing that. But it's like an action game though, so at least it's different than just racing, because racing can get kind of sleepy,
Yeah.
especially for
Yeah.
something like this where I'm doing the same race just repetitively. There's been
Yeah.
a few times where like I have like literally almost fallen asleep at the wheel, like, and I'm like, hitting shit. I'm like, oh crap, like, gotta wake up. So yeah, what are you playing, David?
So I have been getting into. Can you hear my wife
I can
blending?
hear a lot of noise in the back. Yes.
Yeah. Well, she's making cookies, so I can't complain.
Oh.
Um, so I am getting back into Apex, trying to, um,
Hmm.
and that's been fun because it's been a long time. It's been probably prior to me starting. It was probably like a year and a half since I played the game.
Wow. Do you remember how to play it?
It's I hit some buttons wrong a couple times.
Yeah.
I think like the major thing for me is that like I think I remember high level play because like I can tell the difference between like someone who's good and someone who's just not good. So at first I was just hopping in the normal unranked matches, which you get a mix of different levels of play.
Hmm.
Like you would think it's more like easier, but it's a lot harder if you're low level. Then eventually I hopped back into ranked, and it wanted to re-rank me because it had been so long. So I played 10 matches where they basically they keep on re-ranking you, and I did really bad, but I also didn't try to cheese the system. So you can cheese the system by like dropping in and like just staying alive, and you get a lot of points that way
Hmm.
by just if you get top 5, you'll get a whole bunch of points even if you don't kill anybody. I was hot dropping every time, so dropping as soon as I could, getting into fights, losing a lot of fights. So I would get in, not kill anyone, and die, which would get me negative points. So I ended up after um, my ranking matches, I ended up in bronze 2, which is the second to lowest level you can get. And then once I got in and to those games, I noticed a difference. Like the the people's shots were not nearly as on. Their movement wasn't. Some people didn't even move while they were like fighting.
Hmm.
So like that I could notice was a lot worse. And so I did better, but I my movement and like my aiming isn't quite there yet. I'm getting better. I had one game when I went off for like we finished second, and I had like uh, five five kills and over a K damage, which is a good game. But then there'll be games where I go and I just can't hit a shot or shit. And I can feel my and there's like I need to play out the bad habits that you have as a gamer, as a online shooter like gamer, where like in Apex, unless you're firing long distance, you should not ADS, like because it just slows down your movement. And Apex is all about moving and avoiding shots and getting shots on and moving. So as soon as you ADS, you're standing still, like, and I for whatever reason, and I had to breathe this out of me when I was playing a lot, and I always ADS. You know, you see someone, you ADS to shoot them, and I really need to stop doing that and get better, get good. So I'm doing that when I have time. I don't know if I'll have time to do that at all once I start student teaching full time. I don't know what the grind is going to be like for student teaching. It could be not bad because I won't have homework technically, but I don't know how much is going to be put on my plate as far as grading and lesson planning and that sort of stuff, and I'll also be helping with coaching, hopefully. Although they haven't emailed me back about that, and kind of pissed about that. So yeah, I don't know. I could have time. I could not have time. I have no idea. So, but it was fun. It's definitely a distressor that I haven't had in a while because I haven't been able to get into any games. No game has really hit for me in a while. Starfield really didn't hit for me. Like it's a good game, it just didn't hit for me. Maybe because I just didn't have the time to like really sit down and get into it. And that's been the only game that's come out lately that I've even been somewhat excited for. Like I haven't been able to play Baldur's Gate because Xbox is still fucking it up with that. But
Still not a big
yeah,
fan.
other than that, I bought there was a Black Friday deal, 50% off for NBA 2K. So I got NBA 2K24. Same
Oh,
thing.
it wasn't on Game Pass, huh?
No, no, they don't have a
Oh
deal.
wait, EA has their own thingy. No, no, that's Take Two. It's from Take Two.
And they'll put their games. Sometimes they'll have the 2K games on there, but it's like
Interesting.
a 12 or something like that. It's
Hmm.
all the old ones. Yeah, that's good. I mean, not good. It's the same game as last year, um, but it does have some players that it didn't have in the past. One of my favorite players of all time, Brandon Roy. They didn't have him last year, and they have him this year in the eras mode,
Hmm.
where it's go back in time, which is pretty much what I exclusively play.
Yeah,
Uh,
you were really
play
excited for that last year or the year
yeah,
before, whenever
it's
it
still
was on.
fun. Nothing has changed in that. Like they said that one of the new like things in that game was that the looks of people would change as they get older.
Hmm.
Um, because like for example, like Kobe when he was young wore number 8 and had like a mini fro, and then when
Hmm.
he got older, he did he was shaved and went to 24. So that happens when it did in real life. Same thing for like Ray Allen. Drastically looks different. Like I don't know what happened to him, but like if you look at two pictures of Ray Allen, like when he was young, when he was older, he looks way different.
Hmm.
But like that's not too big. They're still missing people that I think that they did have last year that they don't now, and I don't know the licensing, like why they would have lost licensing and then got it or vice versa, whatever. But overall, just trying to de-stress from school, just school being frustrating. But yeah,
It's funny how you
um,
mentioned you came back to Apex. I popped in Naraka Blade Point yesterday. So I
mm,
haven't played that because I've been directed so much time to Gran Turismo. And I remember when I was the last time I was playing it, um, I was doing the ranked because I was like, let's get it going. 'Cause I was doing bot mode like exclusively. I was doing bot mode and the showdown, which is like their campaign, single player campaign thing. And I got to like bronze 1, bronze 2 or 1 or something. Because I think you start at 4 and you go back from there. Or maybe it's the
mm,
other way around. I can't remember. I went up 3 ranks, whether that's from 4 to 1 or 1 to 4.
yeah,
Um, And yeah, even going up to that high, I was like, oh geez, this is ridiculous. Like,
Yeah, when I was playing exclusively back in the day when I was,
yeah,
every day coming home
when
playing
you were
Apex,
just you were apexing it hard.
I got up to gold
You got the gold? Oh my gosh.
gold 1, which I think if and I'm same with you. I can't remember if it goes up or down. I basically the bottom level of gold, whichever
Okay.
the bottom level of gold is. I got up to that gold. And
Goodness.
then there's back then there was something and then apex.
Hmm.
So like there was 2 levels above it. So I was the bottom of the third highest tier. And that
Still,
was my peak.
still, if
Uh
I could imagine gold level Morocco players. Honestly, dude, I cannot see it.
yeah,
Like,
it's
anyways,
crazy. I just don't know if I'll ever
we'll
have
move
time
on.
to ever be that good again.
So we're gonna talk a little bit about. We're a little late to the game, but it's
Oh
funny
yeah.
nonetheless. We want to
As
talk
as
about.
normal,
Yes,
we are late to the game.
as normal. Oh, I thought we were talking about a little bit of the Modern Warfare 3 situation going on. It's still getting talked about. I'll say that
Yeah.
it's still getting talked about, and it seems to be for this particular game. It's widespread. It's throughout both the single player and the multiplayer, and I think the crux of all of this is that it is they put out a game that is like living within another game, like inside of another game. Like if they had just because what I've seen is that like you get to Modern Warfare 3 from the Modern Warfare 2 like in-game launcher type deal thingy.
Not anymore.
Oh, they changed it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it seemed to be that was what it was at first. Like you could access Modern Warfare 3 from Modern Warfare 2's like UI
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
And I don't think that innately is a bad thing. But obviously the issue is just like you then don't make it a whole separate new purchase that I gotta spend 60 or 70
Yeah.
bucks on if that's the case. Like then
Yeah.
make it a $40 thing, especially when we hear and we see and we can basically confirm that on the online side of things, everything's just Modern Warfare 2 assets reused. Like they didn't remake anything, they didn't change or update anything, or if they did, it's minimal. So that's the thing is the big issue. They
Yeah.
basically put out an expansion and then charge full price for it,
Yeah.
which is why I think is the main issue behind all of this.
Yeah. They'll never confirm it, but it is without question now that this was a DLC that was planned for Modern Warfare 2, and that when they realized that they were going to get acquired by Microsoft, they were like, "Shit, we got one more chance to put out a full game before we're acquired by Microsoft," and they switched gears and made it a full length game. Because if you look at things like um, PlayStation players on the day of release, was they put in their modern or they either put in or booted up Modern Warfare 3, right? And then it was like, hey, put in Modern Warfare 2. So the Modern Warfare 3 game told them that they needed to put in Modern Warfare 2 to access Modern Warfare 3. So like that right there is just like the code like is telling you that this was meant to be played on Modern Warfare 2.
But then you
Uh,
wonder, like, for those who got a disc, that'd be the funniest thing if it
yeah,
was like you
right.
put in the Modern Warfare 3 disc and it's like, so just so you
All
know,
about that.
so hey, the last one, the
Yeah.
last game.
So you have stuff like that, which was bad enough. Like that would be like that's I think that's the flare, right? Like
Mhm.
that's the flare gun thing of like, oh, okay, it definitely was.
That's the
It
cause for alarm. That's like the call,
yeah.
like boop, like okay,
Well,
guys, we all.
that's the glowing red dot. I think I led with the big one. The other ones that you can kind of argue whether that's a sign that it was supposed to be a DLC is the fact that one, these are all old maps redone, so there's not a single new
Yeah,
map
I heard
yet.
about that. Mhm.
So they're all just Modern Warfare 3 original Modern Warfare 3 maps redone in the Modern Warfare 2 and 3 engine, the new ones. Fucking naming schemes. Fuck with me. But anyway, so there's no new map. The single player is just missions within portions of the Warzone map,
I've heard about that. Yeah, I heard that too.
with the exception of I think the first level. But so like they didn't even like make a campaign really for it. Um, so there's all that stuff. So it was 100%. They'll never admit it, but it was 100% just meant to be a DLC that they wanted to get their last game under their own supervision out.
What I do believe, even if they would never come out and say, at least not anytime soon, I think what was at least leaked was that this game was rushed. It
Oh
was. I
yeah.
believe it
Well,
was
the
leaked.
changes were rushed. So like the changes to make it its own game, like adding a campaign that was not planned before they moved it to its own thing. That's why they're using assets that they already had. They did not have time to make new assets. Thank you, baby. They didn't have time to
Ooh,
make new
you got
assets.
cookies?
No, I got a full Thanksgiving dinner, pretty much.
Oh, I want cookies.
So there's that. So there's all of that junk. But other stuff too, and this is more just like annoying stuff. So like, let's say we already know that the controversy in the past has always been it's like a 200 fucking gig download. For most people, either just want to play multiplayer or just want to play Warzone, and then there's some weirdos who still think that it's good to just buy the game for the campaign day one for some fucking stupid reason. But you cannot select it pre. Like you have to download it all and then delete the shit you don't. So there's that stuff that they still haven't changed that we've been complaining about since it's gotten so big with Warzone stuff. And let's say you do just want to play Warzone, right? There is no Warzone boot up only. You have to go into the Modern Warfare 3 boot up and then select Warzone, which will then launch the Warzone boot up itself. Is that your air conditioning?
I guess it is. Yeah. I know it's going to be that loud in the recording.
So if you just want to play Warzone, you have to boot up Modern Warfare 3 first, then go to select Warzone, then it boots up the Warzone's browser. So like you have to go through. So it's all sorts of UI fucking stupid shit.
I thought Warzone was a separate download.
It is, but you still have to go through Modern Warfare 3 boot up to access Warzone.
So like if I only had Warzone on my PlayStation, no other Call of Duty game was on there, just Warzone. It still takes me to the Modern Warfare 3 UI or like menu navigation.
Yep. You still have to download the game. The campaign and the multiplayer will not be accessible to you, but you cannot just boot up Warzone.
Okay. Well, okay, that's weird. Another little wrinkle, and this is more niche, and I admit this. And this is for some reason only on the PS5 version, but the PS5 version of Modern Warfare 3, the reboot one or remake one, does not have its own platinum trophy. It has a full trophy list of like 36 some odd trophies, so it has a full list, but no platinum. It is treated as an expansion on Modern Warfare 2.
Again, it's just an expansion.
Again,
like,
it only.
They need to just come out and say.
But it's weird because the PS4 version has a platinum trophy. That's the weird thing. The PS4 version has a straight. It's separate. It is completely separate on the PS4. But for the PS5 version, it's just an It's treated as an expansion DLC for Modern Warfare 2. It's so weird. Like I remember reading about it, and I remember scratching my head thinking, "This isn't real." And then I was reading forums about it, and people were just like, trophy people were just up in arms because we're just like, what is this? Like, no platinum trophy.
I think Microsoft, now that Microsoft, and this might, I don't know, maybe they can't do it because it would like piss off the team that they do have. But like, I feel like Microsoft just needs to come out and be like, yeah, they did that. We own them now, so we're making sure they don't do it again.
And I because like games are never just made in a day, right? They're planned. Even if they're rushed, they're still planned to some extent, right? And so even though this was in the works for like a year and a half, this acquisition was like it works a year and a half. What you have to like people are being like, oh, Microsoft didn't do anything. I guess it's going to be the same old. Like no. this was, they couldn't do that much because they didn't officially own them. And
Yeah.
so even if they wanted to enact some influence, they can't completely do it. And so this was treated, you got to look at this as this is like the last game that Activision wanted to do as the sole, responsible stakeholder of this franchise, right? So we
Yeah.
got to look forward to the next year or maybe the year after that to see, what will Microsoft do as far as like, I don't know if you want to call it fixing or improving or whatever. Like, what are they going
I
to do?
think I think with only with and we see this with the other things, like they're still gonna let them do what they're gonna do. I think hopefully that some kind of like just maintenance is kind of like done, like they're gonna check their work kind of thing. I think that Call of Duty is proven, like they're not gonna mess with the Call of Duty formula all that much.
Well,
But I do hope that some maintenance, some over just a little bit of peeking in and seeing what's up will help
the
everything
thing you
kind of.
gotta that may come off in my head is that Microsoft, since honestly since like the mid cycle of the Xbox One, they've been trying to play the good guy, right? As far as like
Yeah.
PR and like with their fan base, their user base, they're trying to just be the good guy. They're not trying to like win the race, win the war, or whatever, right? So they're trying to be good guy game company, right? Phil Spencer's good guy. Phil Spencer. People love that guy. I like the guy. I'm not even an Xbox guy. He seems like just a really good guy, right? Maybe he sucks, but on the surface, he looks like a good guy. And so you have this kind of forward presence that they've been putting on for the past like decade, and that I wonder how that's going to juxtapose with Activision, who's the exact opposite of that, and doesn't give a fuck. And
Yeah.
they just worry about the bottom line. So when it comes to Call of Duty, it's like, yeah, I don't expect them to change the formula of the games. I don't think that's going to change. But as far as like, what are they going to do, right? Because they
Yeah.
don't want to mess around with too much, because like, yeah, even Microsoft has to admit it's a $1 billion game on its own, right? With between Warzone and multiplayer and the microtransactions. So I know they're not gonna shake the boat too much, but like, I'm sure they would love to, if it's since it's under their umbrella, they do want to create goodwill amongst that player base,
Mhm.
like they do with everything else. Like, I actually just watched a video of how much work Microsoft helped 343 bring back the Master Chief Collection from the terrible launch it had to what it is today, right?
Yeah.
And so it makes me think for the future of Call of Duty, like, what are they going to do? Like, I imagine, like you said, some UI stuff. I would love for them to like, and I think
What
they should
I
have done from the start. I'm almost done. Like, I think Warzone needs to literally just be on its own, because you also have to worry about the fact of cannibalization. Like, you got Warzone, which is an online multiplayer thing on its own already, but then you want to have a regular multiplayer suite also, and you don't want to cannibalize it when they both live on the same platform. It's like, I imagine you probably cannibalize a lot of that traditional multiplayer stuff for sake of Warzone. I feel like Warzone should just be its own entity, and then let people do the modern warfare, call it the traditional Call of Duty with the multiplayer zombies and everything like they normally do, right? Because at least they both can possibly stand on separate footings, and they won't eat each other's player base as much. That's how I think of it. Like, if Titanfall ever came back, which I know you wanted to, like,
yes,
Apex
please.
should still be on its own, right?
Yeah.
Apex should never jump in to the Titan. I know it's supposed to be shared, but like, Apex should just stand on its own, and let Titanfall, if it ever came back, have its own multiplayer suite and let it live by itself, so that people, I know you won't, maybe you might even be like, shit, what do I do? Am I feeling like, do I want to do Apex or I want to do Titanfall 3? Like, you don't want to be at odds. But if it's separate, it can create a, it's good for marketing. It can be good for marketing for a business perspective, because then you use Titanfall as your fighter brand, whereas Apex is your moneymaker. But like, if you keep them on the same things, you cannibalize, or you risk that chance of cannibalization, and you never want that, because then it's like,
Yeah.
now you put all the efforts into that, and now it's just losing money. So hey ho.
Yeah. Well, I think the last thing to say about this is that I do think that I have enough faith in Microsoft that I think for the first time in a while, Activision Infinity Ward is going to be told, "Hey, make a good game. Don't worry about the bottom line." Like, that's like I don't think they'll need to worry about that as much, with Microsoft being the owner, than when they were on their own, because they do have that. I mean, not that they really need like a a cash daddy, but they do have a cash daddy now. You know, they have that cash behind them that they don't need to worry about. You know, the sales necessarily. Like, yes, they still need to you know make money, but I think they can take longer to put out a game. They could go to every 2 years easily, instead of every year kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know why
Whatever
they
it is,
haven't.
I think that they'll have less stress on them every year to like just turn
Yeah, and I
games.
don't know what studio is working on Warzone, if it's one of the internals or some other side, some other studio. I never paid attention to who was actually running Warzone.
I
But
mean,
like if it is one of their three main, Sledgehammer, Treyarch, or Infinity Ward, then they could like use that off year to like have part of the team maybe make a new map for Warzone or continue with rebalancing, big
yeah, who
balance
knows?
updates on the Warzone, instead of just having to try and find a new game to make every year. You know, I think it only could do good for them if that was the case. And I hope Microsoft can do something to where we can actually get a good. I mean, I've always felt this Modern Warfare reboot was crap from the start, and that could be from the outside looking in. But as someone who played Modern Warfare 2 and remembered how big of a deal that was, I don't know why they didn't just remake those three games. Not in the sense
The,
of a reboot, but like just why didn't you just remake it? I really don't
I played the
understand.
campaign for Modern Warfare 2, the new one, and it was fun. Like I liked the campaign. Like it was a
Was it
full
as
fledged
good? Was
campaign.
it as good as the original?
I mean, it's hard to say because like you're in such a different mindset back when you were a kid playing that game than now. It was good. I enjoyed it. I played it all through in like two settings, like two like 4 hour settings. But it was good. It was fun. It had a lot of good pieces, um, good intrigue. Like it was what I expect out of a Call of Duty thing. I could not care less about. I played like the first two levels of this one and three, and I'm like, oh, no, I'm good.
Hmm.
Like the second level, they had me running around just a big multiplayer map, capturing points pretty much. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? They're like, do it in whatever way, whatever order you think's best. You have total control. And I'm just like, or I have no narrative and I'm just fucking playing a multiplayer map with bots essentially,
More or
because
less.
it was never ending too. Like like anytime you killed a certain amount of guys, they're like reinforcements are coming. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like I've killed like 100 dudes. Like cut your losses, man.
Like, how many reinforcements do you have?
Yeah. So yeah, it was. I was like, oh, this is stupid.
All right.
Like
Well, all right. Well, that's Modern Warfare 3. Don't. I mean, I guess you could play it. I mean, again, just keep in mind we're two guys that aren't. I mean, you were a duty head at one point, but you've fallen off,
yeah,
and I've never been into
yeah.
it. So, like, you gotta keep that in mind. We might be a little bit biased, but before we get going and make a conversation, give me a second. I'm gonna cut this. I'm gonna turn off my fucking heater. I know it's gonna go on this goddamn long. Give me a second. I am back. We are back. Sorry about that. So my thing doesn't like the way the heater is one of those kind of like you put it to a heat and then it'll go off when it feels like it needs to get back up to the heat.
Mhm.
I don't know why I went on as long as it did though. So I apologize for all that. I usually minimize background noise anyways when I do a quick little edit after this is recording. So hopefully it won't be too loud in the final video, but I do apologize for that. But anyway, so big discussion. The Game Awards this year are almost coming
In
up.
a
It's
year.
on the 7th of December, so like 2 weeks or so from
Mhm.
now. They will be going on. It's on a Thursday though, which is like really you couldn't do it on a Friday. You couldn't do it on a Friday. But
Yeah.
anyway, so it's creating a lot of buzz. Of course, the Game Awards is a fun time of the year, especially as a gamer. It's fun to kind of like the pageantry for gaming, which is so weird of a thing to say, but it's cool to see it, right? It's really cool to see it how we get our own proper awards. We'll see if it breaks records yet again. The last couple years, it's actually like gotten more viewership than like the Grammys or the Oscars or anything like that. Probably because they bunch of boomers are watching that. But yeah, so we got our Game Awards. So we're not going to go over all the awards in this. We could dedicate a whole podcast to the entire thing because there's a lot of awards to go through. But we're just going to cover Game of the Year and what we think is going to win. So the nominees this year are Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So we got 6 games to choose from here. Now, the
Yeah,
voting is a mix of critic and public voting. That will comprise of like how they're getting the votes in. Now, I don't know if one's going to be skewed more than the other. Like even if there is a lot of public votes, will that only, you know,
yeah. We don't know if it's
take
50-50
10,
or
20,
30-70.
thirty
Yeah.
percent of the actual vote or consideration, or yeah, or
Typically,
like you said,
typically in
50-50.
other voting things, like in all-star voting for sports, fans count for uh, 10 to 20%.
I've heard, yeah,
The vote.
I was reading some forum on Reddit or whatever, and some person had mentioned about 10%, which I mean, hey, that is what it is. I mean, if it was that way, they should call it. I mean, if it was gonna be more, then maybe we should have a separate show called the People's Game Awards or something. You know, like we have the People's Choice Awards and shit like that. Like maybe one day we should have that. You know, a People's Gaming Game of the Year award. You know, Game Awards show or something, right? Because what the critics, I mean, as we've seen with shows and movies, what the panel likes isn't necessarily what
Yeah,
the public likes. You know,
yeah,
especially if it comes to representation stuff like that, which I know those shows have come under big fire over the last half decade or so. But so we're gonna give our predictions, what we think is gonna win. You told me before we started our stream very quickly, and I will have to agree with you. Actually,
yeah,
we both believe Baldur's Gate 3 will win.
yeah,
I will start first with my reasoning. It is honestly because I'm taking of the case of the panel, right? Of the critics, like what they would be thinking, right? I'm not thinking of of a regular consumer. I'm thinking of like the greatest thing. And it is their job to think beyond just like good or bad. They're supposed to be thinking a bit more big brain about this. And that's how I'm trying to think about it. And when I put in that perspective, Baldur's Gate 3 has pushed this medium further, and that's why. That's what it all comes down to me. It hasn't just been a marvel for RPGs or even CRPGs, and this with the C standing for computer, or like representing tabletop gaming, representing D&D, whatever. It's not just that. It is a technical wonder that this game was to even come out in the state that it did, with the scope that it has, and still be that fantastic of a game. And I'm not saying it was, I mean, it got tens for a reason. And I'm sure there was probably some early game, some early couple week patches, whatever. But by and large, also, this game came out not a complete, buggy mess. I'm sure there were bugs here and there, but like it wasn't from what I understood, like I didn't hear any read outcries about people saying the game was broken or didn't
yeah.
work
No,
or crashed computers when it was, which I know probably more people on computer than PlayStation were playing this game. It
no
didn't
people on
crash.
Xbox were
Yeah,
playing
people
the
on
game.
Xbox weren't playing it. That's for damn sure. But it is
It's coming.
it one
It's
day,
coming.
hopefully. But it is just absolutely it is a movement, not a movement. It's just a wonder. It is absolutely incredible what this game was able to accomplish. It is basically what New Age Fallout wants to be, but can't be it. Like essentially, with all the romantic, all the companionship romances and conversations you try to build and have, and how it all interweaves. And I was talking to, I have a coworker who's played it, who's playing it, and he was also mentioning to me how it is also incredibly impressive how there are contingencies put in place for everything you might do in the game. If
Yeah,
you fuck up something here, well, they have a backup plan narratively for that. If you go this route, they got something for that too. Like if you don't have this person, well, they got a plan for that. Like no games today, the scope think that
yeah.
thoroughly down.
In any game, you have unkillable characters that if you cannot, that the game cannot let you kill because it'll ruin the game.
Yeah.
And there isn't in this, as far as I'm aware. There are no unkillable characters for narrative sakes. Like if you can kill them, as far as like if you have the ability to get a hit on them, then you can kill them,
Hmm.
and they'll have a way to make it up and everything like that. My thinking goes a little like, so I have a thought on why Baldur's Gate is a game of the year for me, but it's also kind of a elimination as well. So if I look at if I look at Alan Wake 2,
Hmm.
it looks like it's a great game. However, I still think it's niche. It didn't like so Baldur's Gate is like in
Baldur's Gate
its
is also
essence,
niche.
it's a niche game, but it broke out of the niche game. So like it's not as comparable, but you can compare it to Elden Ring, where Elden Ring was a niche game
Yeah.
that fucking blew up and
Yeah.
was everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Baldur's Gate isn't that, but it's close. Like it still blew up. You still had, you know, people streaming it who normally wouldn't stream a game like that because of how big it got. You have all these like cool things that are happening where like an owl where they built a box, a sky box, and then an owl bear just came and put the people's elbow down and just one hit one of the most powerful bosses in the game. Did you see that?
No, but that sounds
So
awesome.
so there's this video of there's this owl bear attack, and normally like it's a pretty good attack, but it gets someone found out that if you just stacked boxes, like you jumped and put boxes like Minecraft style,
Mm.
and you got to the height of where the game allows you to go, and then you trigger the owlbear attack, like you transform into an owlbear and you jump, because of you diving, it adds so much damage on a damage roll that it one shots one of the hardest bosses in the game. So like stuff like that, like you see that stuff on on TikTok and Insta and all sorts of stuff, and it spread outside of its original focus.
Yeah.
And I think that people and voters take notice of that. But then you look at Alan Wake, and I'm sure it's good, but it's still pretty niche. It's a horror game on Xbox only. So
No, it's PlayStation.
no,
It's on
is it
PlayStation.
PlayStation?
It was
Ah,
just sponsor. It was just Xbox got the promotional stuff, but
gotcha.
it's on all the
Well, there
consoles.
you go.
Well, not
Anyway,
Switch, but
so you have that. Then you have Spider-Man, which is PlayStation only. Again, beautiful game, really cool. Venom, sweet, but PlayStation only. Spider-Man didn't win it, and I've heard that people liked the original Spider-Man more than they like Spider-Man 2. So there's that. Super Mario Bros. Is awesome. I've seen it. It looks really cool. They do a lot of cool. They changed for the first time. They changed up like the running animation
hmm.
uh of Mario, which is cool. So like he has different he runs differently. Like that was a big thing that I heard was like he runs differently. And then you have I think the biggest obstacle to Baldur's Gate winning is Tears of the Kingdom, because although it was early, it builds off of the game before, and it does even cooler stuff. And you do have those TikTok moments of people like building tanks
Yeah,
and shit
yeah, I've seen
in the
those.
game, and using the mechanics and stuff to be super crazy. So like there's elements of it, but I think Baldur's Gate, just because of the way that it went about and how big it blew up out of its intended circle, I think that's why it wins.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of juxtapose, not juxtapose, you kind of coincide with what I'm thinking. Like, if I were to elaborate, yeah, like when you take my thought or my perspective into every other game, it's like it just doesn't like I think it's gonna get the it won't get the critics votes, it won't get the panels vote. Like Alan Wake 2 is tremendous narratively because it's Remedy. They just know how to make a fantastic story, but like it doesn't push any other boundaries beyond it. And now I know Alan Wake got tens of its in its own right, in its own respect, which is incredibly impressive to get nines and tens. It has a huge, very high Metacritic average. But as far as like for the industry, what does this do for the industry, right? Like it's a 10, yes, but like it's not. I'm already kind of hearing it, like kind of already seeing it out of my, like out of like people talking about it anymore, right? Like because it's a horror game, who knows? Like it does is gameplay is very reminiscent of Resident Evil 2. Oh, sorry, Resident Evil 2 remake, that is the remakes. And so like combat wise, I don't think it pushes any buttons. It really lives and dies by its narrative, which is incredibly impressive, like I said, but like this isn't the Writers Guild Award or
Yeah.
something, right? This isn't that type of show. Now maybe if we had like a show or I think it was also in the Best Narrative Award, and it probably will win that, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um
Well,
but
or Baldur's Gate, because again, like
yes,
you said, its
I
narrative
know.
is so expansive.
Yes, it's I think they're both in there. I mean, a lot of these 6 games are also spread out throughout many of the other categories. I
Mm.
think Baldur's Gate and I think Spider-Man have the most. I think they have like no, I think Baldur's Gate has the most by like 8 and Spider-Man's like 7 or maybe it's one less for each of those, but like it's a lot, right, for all these games. But like Alan Wake 2 I don't think pushes the industry further or even its own genre further. I think it pushes narratives in a good direction, but that's it. I don't think that's going to be enough for game of the year. Spider-Man 2, I think suffers unfortunately from just like it's a great game, but it's just more of the same of Spider-Man. You know, like
Yeah.
it's just more great Spider-Man, which is good. We don't want bad Spider-Man, but like for as far as like game of the year worthy contender, I don't think so. And
Yeah. So
especially if we
go for it.
consider the fact that if it is true that the people's vote is only going to be like 10 to maybe 20% of the overall consideration, like that's not going to be enough because I doubt any of the critics are going to vote for Spider-Man. It's just not going to happen. And there
So
is
if we sorry, if we look at the like just the Metacritic review, which gets both,
mhm,
critics and people. So you have Baldur's Gate at a 96 critic, 8.9 uh,
user
user. Alan Wake is less in both, 88 and 8.8, so right in line. Resident Evil
4.
3, Resident Evil 4 remake is a 93 and a 7.9, so lower in both. Spider Man's a 90 and a 9.1. Super Mario Bros. Is a 92 and a 9.2. And Legend of Zelda is a 96, so it matches the critic review of Baldur's Gate, but it's an 8.3 in user score. And Metacritic has its it's not perfect because you have people that bomb
Especially on that user review. Yeah, especially
yeah,
on that user side.
that review bomb. But if you look at that, you can get a kind of feel. At least the critics think it's Tears of the Kingdom. At least these critics, Tears of the Kingdom, Baldur's Gate, and we can see a little bit that maybe the user score means that it wasn't as heralded.
Yeah. I mean,
Because I did hear from some of the community that Tears of the Kingdom is great, but it's pretty much just a expansion to uh, the last one. I can't remember for whatever reason.
Breath of the Wild. I
Breath of the Wild.
feel if Nintendo wouldn't be dragging their feet with this new whatever the new Switch is supposed to be, the new console. If it had came out for that console and they could have done even more with that,
Yeah,
I'd probably be like, I don't know if it's between
yeah,
Baldur's Gate or Legend of Zelda, but like the reason why I give Baldur's Gate the edge over Zelda is just because to a lesser extent, I think Zelda Breath of Tears of the Kingdom does have that same, just more of the same, but
yeah,
like of course that same is like top tier same,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's top tier. But again, it is more of the same because they're still
yeah,
using the same assets, the same toolkit, that Breath of the Wild did. They can they can think of new ideas within that limitation, but I think because it lived on the Switch, it couldn't push anything much further, right?
yeah.
Because yeah, there's a few other things you can do with the glove and the narrative is great too and everything, but like it doesn't. I think it's just another fantastic installment in this new direction for Zelda, but I don't know if it pushes anything, at least in the same way that Breath of the Wild did. Like Breath of the Wild was revolutionary.
Yeah.
This is just more of that pushing further, but it is still Zelda, and I know even the critics are going to be biased to an extent on Zelda, and so and
Yeah.
the people who are Zelda fans will
Are
vote for
gonna
Zelda
turn
over
out. Yeah.
anything else.
But I do think I think the D&D crowd is not to be
No, 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 not at all, not at all,
under.
not at all, not at all,
Yeah.
not at all. It's like for those who are computer people, or I guess PlayStation to an extent, rip Xbox, but like those who are into D&D will vote for Baldur's Gate. In the same
So
coin, those who are into Switch fans and have played Zelda will vote for Zelda. But it leaves everyone else who aren't in those two camps to vote for the other four remaining choices.
so the other games that come out by the same company, which now I'm blanking on the names of the
I think it's
games.
like
They were
Larian Studios. I think is what they're called.
Larian Studios. They made
Yeah.
two games prior to this that were in the same realm, like a D&D
Mm.
tabletop kind of game. And I can't remember now what the names of the things were. Uh, I'll look it up later. But what I heard people who play D&D say is it's really good. The only problem is that the game master, or in this case the AI, that's running the game, like
Yeah.
all the checks and stuff behind the game, isn't as good as a human game master. Like it can't make up scenarios on the go. It can't. It's not as it's just not as creative,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
But then I talk to those same people about Baldur's Gate, and they're like, "Man, it's
So
like
it's the best.
it's really
It is
good. Like
as
it's."
good. Yeah.
They were like, obviously it can't account for everything because it's already written script where dungeon masters, game masters, they can come up with shit on the fly that
Yeah.
they didn't even think about until that moment.
Mhm.
But it's as close to a real life dungeon master. Like they might as well have had a guy just like dudes just like in every game, just like real people, just like coding, because they said it's that realistic.
Yeah, because
So
of all the contingencies that are put in place,
yeah,
for some which again, you can't deny that. No other game has something like this. Like again, because I mean the other games aren't designed like that. So I mean, yes, there is to that limitation, but like because of the fact that we haven't, for those who play D&D games, video games that is, who have been wanting something like that to represent what they play in real life, like to have that, to the closest expectation. And like I said, my coworker the same way. He plays D&D, with his boys too, like outside of gaming, and
Definitely.
and then he'll play this, and then he's just like, it's like I can't stop. Like I just can't stop playing. Like
Dude,
dude, I
I'm
cannot
telling
stop.
you,
Like bro,
when it comes to Xbox,
bro,
I am gonna be
you might
all
have
over it.
to take some time off or something, because otherwise you're gonna be sloughing on your planning, on your teacher planning,
I
if this
know.
comes out at the wrong time.
Exactly.
But yeah, like that's just why. Like if it was the People's Choice Awards, I think Spider-Man has more of a chance. I don't know if it would win,
More
but
mass appeal.
I
Yeah.
think it has more of a chance. But because
Yeah.
the people's vote won't account for even the majority of the overall consideration, it's just I don't think so. Now it is, I will say, as good as Mario Brothers is, I'm a little surprised it was in this list. I really think it's just because of recency bias and just filling the numbers. I would have loved to
Yeah.
see Liza P in there. I know I'm not gonna win, but I would just be, it was nice to see, like it's in two categories, but it's in the weirdest categories at all. Like for, I think one of them was like sound or something, and I was like, bro, what? Why sound? Put it in art direction, like where people like talked about the game. Like if anything, two people talked about the game. They said it's hard, and it said like the art direction like, is beautiful. Like that's the only two things people said about this game, and somehow
Yeah.
you want to put it in sound design. What? But anyways, but yeah, I feel like Resident Evil 4 is in there just, I mean, for as far as remakes are concerned, like it's just ridiculous how good it did. Like
Yeah.
that is, I think this is the new standard bearer for any remake going forward
Mhm.
of any game, of any
Yeah.
absolute game. It cannot be overstated how good of a remake this game was. Like it actually makes me want to play it, and I don't have any inclination to play
Yeah.
these kind of
It's
games.
it's always been the only Resident Evil that I've been like,
Maybe,
maybe I will play
like
it.
I should give it a shot. Like,
Yeah.
and after playing Resident Evil 2 remake myself and really enjoying that, um, like it just see, but knowing how Resident Evil 4, even the OG one, like did so much more than the ones
New
before
and
it,
stuff.
and
Yeah.
this remake does the same thing. Like, there's just so much they added. Like
Yeah.
it takes like a game that was already pretty good, pretty sizable, and it made it even bigger, but in meaningful ways. And like that's the kind of stuff that I like in remakes, whether I'm playing them or not. And so if it was, I think there's a remake or remaster vote or category, and this game better win it because I don't know what else could even hold a candle to this.
If it's in
So,
Game of the Year,
but
that is gonna win that
but
category.
yeah, yeah, yeah. If it was good enough to get Game of the Year consideration, like
Yeah.
yeah, I will also
If none
say,
of the others made Game of the Year category, then I don't think there's a question.
I will say this was a good year.
Yeah, I just
Um,
haven't been able to experience any of it.
ooh, hold on a second, you froze.
Yeah,
You
yeah, I'm
froze.
frozen. Can you
Uh-oh.
still hear me
I
though?
can hear you, but you are
Yeah,
frozen. All right, sorry, people.
we'll
You're gonna
see.
have to just deal with the frozen David until
Yeah,
he hopefully
that
comes back.
dopey face.
Well, at least you're smiling, kind of.
Yeah,
But I will just a little quick aside. This was a good year for gaming, like, and not just in the matter of the kind of games we got. By and large, a lot of them came out not that bad performance wise. Like last year, we had so many games that were either half baked or crap or like buggy messes, needed huge updates and
say
improvements.
say it with me. COVID.
Yeah,
COVID.
yeah. I
I
know.
think it's I thought I think
We're getting towards the
100% COVID.
we're getting out of the thick of it in that regard. But like,
Yeah.
man,
You're still, even like, even though last year was pretty far removed from COVID being pretty much over, you have to remember that
yeah, the games developed before that.
the
They were
development time
developing
was not. The
in the
development
mix
time
of
was
it.
smack dab into
Yeah,
COVID.
but like for games that came out this year, some of them were in development for quite some time
It's
during
true,
the thicker,
but
the
you
thicker
had that
part.
good time to like refine and stuff.
True, true. I will say that. I will just say that it's worth mentioning because like last year it was so bad. We had Stray as a Game of the Year contender. Okay, now granted, it was awesome. It was hilarious, and I voted for it because I wanted Stray to win, just for the memes. But and I actually do wonder if it got like second place because like people. I wonder what would have happened if Elden Ring hadn't came out. Like, I really do. Like, because there were like a lot of the games on that list last year were like meh or like not didn't have the huge appeal that
Yeah,
this list
Elden
has.
Ring ran away with it, like,
But
because
like it was really the only choice. It
yeah,
was
Elden Ring,
really the
but
only
like Elden
choice.
Ring would have won in almost any year. Like, there's Elden
Yes,
Ring was something different.
yes. And I will say this was a year for the Souls likes. Like holy crap! I don't know if you've been keeping track, but we had Liza P, Wolong Fallen Dynasty, Remnant 2, Lords of the Fallen, um, and I believe we had like one or two. I cannot remember off the top of my head. Like, but those are just the big ones that I can remember.
Yeah.
On top of the dome.
What we need to do, and I think, and we can talk about this later. But we should do like a tier list of Souls like games between the two of us, like ranking
But we haven't played even half of
all
them.
this.
Like
Hey, fine. We can limit it to the ones that we played.
that's
But
not
like,
many. That's not many, bro.
it's between the two of us. I would say it's a good
I
amount.
think I played 3. Like, I mean, and people, not everyone even considers Neo a Souls like. So, like, I don't even
Oh,
know
it
if I can.
100% is.
Well, I don't. But like, because it did so much different, it almost created its own subcategory within that whole bigger umbrella.
If it's a subcategory, it's
But
still in the category.
like, I played both Neos, Wolong, Liza P. Well, I guess I played the first Remnant, and I played the first Lords of the Fallen. And I played Demon Souls and Dark Souls 1. I guess that's 8.
And then I played all of the Dark Souls games and Elden Ring and Wulong and
You played Neo 2 for like a bit.
Neo 2 for a good amount, like halfway through the game.
Okay.
Yeah. And Remnant.
You played Remnant?
Yeah.
Oh wait, the second
like
one or the first one?
First one.
Wow, I know you played that one.
Yeah, for like one boss, I think.
Oh, okay. I don't know. That's enough really to make a judgment, but okay.
But I will.
Won't stop me though.
Because I am an American.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well with that, guys, we're gonna wrap up this podcast here. But you've heard it here. We both believe Baldur's Gate 3 will win. Who do you think will win? Try not to use your bias, even if you've played like half of these games. Now, for all intents and purposes, I have played none of these games on the list.
Neither have I. I have played none of them. I would have played Baldur's Gate if Xbox could get their head out of their ass. I would have played Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, like so we haven't played any of these, but we still just like from our own observations of what people are talking about and what we know about just gaming in general. It's like it just goes without saying, And this is someone who would never even play. Like he wants to play. I would never play Baldur's Gate 3 ever. It's not my game. But I still understand that Baldur's Gate 3 is a phenomenon in of its own right. Now, maybe not as big of one as Elden Ring was, but it is a phenomenon. Yeah. And so we believe it's going to win. Try not, whatever your vote is, try not to be biased, just because Spider-Man 2 is recent and cool doesn't mean it's going to win. I know a lot of people are hoping maybe Spider-Man will win, but I just don't think so. And if a certain person watches, I know you're going to vote for Legend of Zelda. You know who you are if you happen to be watching. And we'll see what happens. We believe that's probably the closest second, closest second to Baldur's Gate. But yeah, that's this week's stream.
Thanks, guys.
We'll see you whenever we can again. Take care, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.
Bye. Don't know if you can see me waving.